This is the off season.
The voice in your ears is Perfect Pervis, and welcome to the off season. I'm here to talk about all things relevant to me during the off season period of American football in Finland. Today's topic is what is motivation for European football players? And to help me shed some light on the subject, I have a guest host with me today.
So my name is Brandon Head. I am formerly head coach of Nuremberg Rams. But man, honestly, the other thing that I was thinking about is opportunity.
Okay.
Why should that not be motivation for European players, especially for U16 and U19 players coming up?
What kind of opportunity? Be a little more specific.
I'm talking
Actually
about
have some opportunities.
I'm talking about organizations within let's say Germany. All right. Kings of Europe should be able to operate and be able to, or I say operate, be able to call a field, say Nuremberg Hawks, be able to call Nuremberg Hawks, say, hey, I want to be able to set up a 7v7, use your team as the platform, and have all the local teams come in for a local tournament, have a regional tournament, local, regional, and then have systems feed off from that into, the Kings of Europe Championship, to where the best team gets a showcase in the States, or the best players that are recruited from the showcase or from the championship are being able to go over to the States for a showcase with college prospects or high school prospects as well. But you have challenges like the ASVBY in Germany that sets limits and doesn't allow Kings of Europe, organizations like Kings of Europe, to operate within Germany and be able to call up,
That's crazy.
Yeah, I'm telling you, dude, there is a huge barrier, and Emmanuel does a great job of working within those barriers and walls of getting facilities, getting teams to buy in, getting individual players to buy in this opportunity. And I feel like 7v7s is a great opportunity to enhance skill level, and then you can enhance so many other things about the game just by organizing 7v7s.
Yeah.
And those kind of opportunities. And then the biggest opportunities that should be had are, if a player wants to go and be at a higher level and, let's say, just not be stuck in concrete at the club level, let him have opportunities to showcase his ability. Because I can count on one hand how many players I know in Germany or from Germany playing over in the States college ball right now, or really just from my area. And I know there's more. I know there's probably dozens and dozens of whatever. I'm just not off the top of my head, but I feel like there is so much more talent here that could be transitioned over to the States, and they get a taste, whether it be high school or a couple of years of college, and come back over here and share that culture and that environment of, their motivation of what got them there and to them now.
Yeah, I just to add on to what you're talking about with opportunity, because the last one you're talking about, definitely 7-on-7, that's tough, but playing playing in the USA at any level, that's an opportunity that for some of these kids, football can give them that other sports can't.
Yeah.
And that, again, motivation is, individual to everyone. But let's be honest, if you're a European person and you want to go to the States, you can go if you want to go. But wouldn't it be nice if you were going to do something? to do more than just go on vacation. No offense to vacation. Everybody loves vacation, but
But a
I've
week or 2 weeks only gets you so long.
yeah, like I've been to Germany at some point.
Yeah.
I don't think I know Germany because I went at some point. Like I was in Berlin for a week. I did some touristing. I don't
Yeah.
know Berlin like that, but
Yeah.
I lived in Rome when I played there for 3.5 months. I feel like I know Rome. Like I got to know
Yeah.
the place. And I know
Yeah.
3.5 months isn't like nearly as long, but a semester abroad,
You still
you
get
get a
to
lot of
know a
experience.
place for
Yeah,
sure.
you can get a lot of experience.
Oh yeah.
And these kids, if you go to the States, you can go to the States for 1 year. You can go to high school and 1 year, you can
And
stay.
your ability will just enhance
Yeah,
like
and there's so many
tenfold.
things that you'll learn that as much as people in Europe want to say, we can do that here, nothing beats the real thing.
Yeah.
Nothing beats the real thing, and that's the
So
real
true.
thing. And motivational wise, a lot of kids, that's what they want to do. They're like, well, if I play American football, I have an opportunity because in what countries in Europe can you get, a scholarship for college? Oh yeah, because college is free.
Basketball.
So
Maybe basketball.
yeah, so
That's very rare. There's
yeah,
only 5 players on the court at a time.
and
You
almost
don't
none of those
have
sports are going to
can't
get you
put
to
one
the
more
USA.
with football, right?
Yeah,
So it's like, I don't know, man. That opportunity thing should be the highest motivating factor for a European player in my eyes.
I want to throw in the other opportunity that's more
Yeah.
Europeanish. Making the national teams.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
coming
man.
from Texas,
Yeah.
you want to be like all state, but I mean that's pretty much it. Like as a
Yeah.
17-year-old, you can't. I mean, you could play on the USA national team, but it's not one of those things that like people covet. But in
Yeah.
Europe, playing on the national team,
Yeah.
you could be playing fucking pickleball. Well, not pickleball. That's actually a pretty cool sport people like here. But like the bowling team. Well, it's
Yeah.
also that you could be a poker player on the national
Yeah.
team, and people are like, "Oh man, that's awesome," because
Yeah. It's so true.
it's what people aspire to. I
Yeah.
know here, my wife coaches basketball, and her players they all want to be on a national team. And I've seen a national team. There's politics involved, just like everything else.
Of course.
But that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
But honestly, people still want to be on it. Everyone, I love it when kids come and tell me about American football players who are on the national team and blah blah blah, and I'm like, that means nothing to me.
Yeah.
Sorry. If you ever heard my podcast AFF, we talk about national team players in the Maple League all the time, and I'm very consistent. I don't believe that making the national team gives you anything other than an extra accolade. I consider it similar to like the Pro Bowl in
Just
the
another
NFL,
stud
where
on the resume.
the Pro Bowl, yeah, the Pro Bowl, you still put it on a resume, but it's not the same thing as All Pro.
Nah.
Yeah,
All
so
state.
yeah, and that's what I think about national teams. And again, that's my personal bias, but that doesn't take away the fact that people still want to be on the national team. And
Exactly.
for
It
American
should be
football,
a motivational factor for a European player, for
yeah,
sure.
it's a great motivational
That
factor.
should be, and that's a way of getting your name out there. Let's just be real. Like, you make it on the European or the German national team, you might get a showcase opportunity in the States. It's
I
just
I think about it all the time whenever I meet like basketball players, like teenagers or even adult basketball players who aren't playing anymore. I'm like,
yeah,
dude, if you come on, put on a helmet and shoulder pads, you can get on national team. Like you probably couldn't do it in basketball because there's only so many positions, like you said before, and it's so competitive. There's so many people playing it. But
yeah,
in Finland, there's 2,500 players, and that's for men's, women's, children's, and that's all four divisions
yeah,
of
just
each.
everything together.
That's everything. So
Yeah.
if you're a 17-year-old kid and you want to play on a national team, you're competing against maybe 100 other kids. Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, your chances are pretty good if you're halfway decent.
Yeah.
Take your shot. Start playing American football.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to be on a national team.
That's
Just,
a lot of the
join.
things but thing is, a lot of teams don't advertise themselves out to the local communities
Mm.
in retrospect to really draw that player's attention of getting them out there, like getting that feeder system. Like, I mean, like you said earlier, man, those 10 dudes that grew up together, they can be the center focal point of a team, and that can have negative, but that can have really beneficial sides for club environments, especially here in Bavaria. Because, and this is, you can only just speak of what you know and speak of what you see, kind of thing, and what you experience. But knowing and being here in Bavaria, man, there's definitely a market for everything. But I think teams kind of have to set aside that whole, that high school rivalry, man, that I
Yeah.
mean, you literally had crosstown rivalry, whatever. It's literally that times personal hate between teams here to where they hate each other so much that they will not collab during the off season or preseason
But
to make each
I'm gonna
other
throw this out there too.
yeah,
That
better.
is a very strong German situation. Like
Yeah,
certain cultures and certain
yeah,
countries are like that. Some places aren't nearly as much. Just throwing out Finland. Finland rivalries aren't really a thing. A lot of people they and especially like even the top leagues here in Finland, you'll see players play on different teams and they'll play against a team they just played for last year or they played for 2 years ago. And there's no animosity because most likely they're playing on a team because of where they live or because their friend is playing there this year. So they want to play. And most of the national team players all play on the same team. And
yeah,
that just shows you how national teams work. But so obviously, if they change teams, they end up playing with someone that they played on national team with. But again, but to your point, with Germany being so much larger than most countries, that is where most of the players in Europe are playing. But in other countries as well, depending on where you are, from what I've heard, again, this is just hearsay. I've never been there, but I'm pretty sure that you play for the Prague Lions, PBP. They're not. I've never seen them doing a lot of things together.
yeah.
I don't see that
They're
happening.
literally 20, 30 minutes apart. You know what I'm saying? An hour apart.
What's the Poland teams? You have
Warsaw
Wars,
or Wroclaw or
yeah, Warsaw and Warsaw, right? Or what is it? The Eagles
I
and the
can't.
Panthers or something? Like there's
Yeah, the
some teams.
Wroclaw Panthers. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's some teams out there that are close or you know, Katowice. I don't know Polish. I don't know why I brought up Poland, but there's a lot of teams out there that I've seen people move from team to team to team, but
Yeah.
the teams themselves, like, they're not that close to like, okay, it's okay to someone move. They start talking shit about people that play on other teams. So that's one of those things that leads me to the last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here, because obviously we're talking too long because we're having a good time.
Yeah,
But
baby. I love it.
the one major question I had about this topic was how can we inspire and or nurture European players' motivation to continue to grow through the sport? Like what is something you think that we can do to keep European players interested in playing American football, like to grow this thing? Because honestly, it's been around too long. I'm sorry. In Finland, we're about to have Maple Bowl like number 47 or something. Like it's been around for damn near 50 years, and we have less than 3,000 players out here. And obviously, Finland is its own situation, but Europe in general, there's there's a lot of players, but also the sport it could be bigger. So, what are some things you think that we could do to inspire and or nurture European players' motivation?
Man, I honestly think it starts with this right here, Vince. Is what you're doing right here, man. Is us coming together
Okay.
and collabing, like truly coming together and putting our minds on the same level. Because I feel like we're all like I follow you on Facebook pretty heavy. I follow Emmanuel, I follow Dre, I follow um um AVO, can't remember Josh. I follow him pretty well. So I kind of see and people's environment and see what kind of troubles and what kind of great things that they see within the sport. I think us all getting on the same level and figuring out some kind of way of just organizing some kind of wave to come through Europe and to establish like to where everybody can get on this thing. And I hate to say it, but Kings of Europe, and I'm established with it. I've been with it, man, it's where we met up at.
Yeah.
But it's I just feel like it has so much that could be offered with skill camps, with 7v7 tournaments within teams, and dude, just all that organization. But it has to start with the clubs. And when I mean like us, I mean clubs being on the same level and really just coming together. Because let's think about it. High schools back home, are they really against each other, or do they really like promote the game itself for the benefit of each other? Right? Are they really tearing each other down, or are they sending each other to each other's school during the summertime to have 7v7s?
I don't know, man. I got to be honest with you. Where I'm from, I literally saw someone in the middle of a track meet finish at the finish line and then run to the side and punch somebody from a rival school. So I don't know if that's the case, but I believe the higher ups it probably is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm from a very small town rivalry as well. So it's kind of like if we saw each other, we didn't like each other at all.
We had a whole county rivalry.
But
like
at the same time, it's not about, just the player relation. It's about the school relationship. They were the ones sending us to the track meet, and then us having to get up there and click up, and
well, you always felt like your district or your conference was a strong.
They're always mitigating like the connections. They're always and I think that's where it comes into, man, is us inspiring these players comes from the clubs integrating with each other. Like the Herzengatting Rhinos and the Nuremberg Hawks. Like these are two teams in my area that could be perfect examples that if they work together during the off season, like if they created a facility or something like that together and then had off season workouts, maybe not the same day, two different teams, but the same at that point in time, you have a focal point of motivation for teams to get better. And I'll be honest, if they just took away that bitterness now bitterness on the field is one thing. You should hate each other on the field. Like it's dog eat dog on the field. Whistle blows 60 minutes, we're gone. Like you're not my friend at all. I don't know you. Right? But at the same time, like off the field, I feel like Germany, the reason they're being defeated so heavily right now by the ELF is because their feeder system is being exposed.
That makes sense.
And truly the roots of the GFL is being exposed, and their roots were not drawn deep enough and tied between the clubs to where they had so much interaction in the off season with each other to grow. And honestly, dude, that's just where I feel a lot of and like I said, just say in Germany, I want to go over the whole European brand. That's why I'm possibly going to be doing a job out in Sweden here soon, for a couple of months. So I'm kind of broadening my scope. Kind of see. I know you said you're out in what, Finland, right?
I'm in Finland.
You're in Finland.
My eyes and ears are everywhere.
Exactly.
You're a little bit here, a little bit there.
You're there with it, right?
But my hand on the pulse of the continent, if I could.
But I hope I really hope that you hear my focal point of that motivational factor and us being the inspiration. Like if we're gonna say we're involved and we can't be the American coaches sitting on the wayside beating the rock on the hammer like, man, I hope things change. I hope things change when nothing ever really changes. But German teams have to allow facilities to be open to their teams during the off season. 100%. There cannot just be oriented times to where these teams can just go out there. If a team wants to go out there and get better, if a defensive coach needs to go out there and get better with his team, he needs to be able to send it out on Facebook, good notice in advance, whatever, and then go out there and be able to execute. That's what's gonna be the inspiration, coach. I'll be real with you, man. And if we're gonna do anything, it starts with the clubs. If the clubs don't want to like grow that root down,
Yeah.
ELFs and people like the ELF is just gonna keep coming in and scraping in the top. They're just gonna scrape in the top level, make that money off the numbers that are here. And when they're done with that, they're just going to take off and go back to the XFL, CFL, sit there for a couple of years. GFL is going to do the same old thing it's done for the last 30 years. And then another team like NFL Europe 10 years ago is going to come in and the cycle's just going to repeat itself.
That is history repeating itself.
It is, dude. And until this system in Germany or Europe is completely faulty.
Yeah.
It's like you can have wiring in a house, but it can't be faulty wiring. It has to be like good wiring.
There
It has
you
to be able
go.
to run up the walls. Can't have any nails in it. It's all about the quality, right? And the wiring here is faulty in my aspect, in some aspects. We have to be the electricians to come in and say, all right, here's where it's wrong. A to B, good to go. Negative, positive, we're good to go. If we can be that connection as American coaches and keep that like current flowing between us and then make it flow between the clubs, that's how we're going to be the inspiration, man.
Yeah.
In my eyes.
I agree with you. I think we definitely have to do things together and stay connected so that the sport can grow. But I'm gonna go a different way with how I would try to inspire and nurture players. I think that more than I'm trying to say this the correct way. If you're listening also, I wrote this question down, but I didn't actually answer it anywhere. So I'm still like thinking of my answer.
All right.
Like I I write a few notes, but I don't actually write down what I plan to say on the podcast.
Yeah.
We just let it flow. But
I just got points.
yeah, I'm trying to get this out because I had this thought while you were talking. You were saying what you were saying was pretty much what I wanted to say. But the way that I'm thinking is that, okay, so obviously we want to create change. I think everyone wants to, do better, have more players and create change.
Yeah.
But where we're really missing the cohesiveness is how we want to do it. And I don't think that everyone wants to make change completely differently. I think it's slight tweak here, slight tweak there. But instead of us realizing the similarities and working together to create something new together, people are like, oh, well, if you're not with me, you're against me. Think of the whole creation of the ELF. Trying to say it right. How are you saying it wrong? But ELF is because they didn't like the system that was at hand and they weren't given opportunity to make change. A lot of the people that, had a hand in starting the ELF, they were exposed to the GFL. They knew what the system was about. They knew what didn't work. Yep. And they had attempted to make change. Not like some random people just came in and said, fuck this league, we're gonna start our own. No, that's not how it started. We all know that. And you've seen the international play in years of the random tournaments that would pop up, IFAF situation with and without, national teams, and all this division, and even having ELF now, all this division doesn't help the sport grow.
Yeah.
No offense to ELF, I think it's a great visual product, but it has almost zero impact on the growth of the sport.
Yeah. I think
And
it's
the reason,
deteriorating.
yeah, and the reason that we
from
can't
local
grow the sport is because
don't have a feeder system.
everyone wants to do their own thing separately. When, like you said, if we were doing it all together, people would look at us and be like, "Oh, wow, that's something I would be in." I'm honestly, when I'm thinking about motivation, always go to, if I had a 14, 15-year-old European kid and I wanted them to start liking or playing American football, what would that look like? Well, what would I do now? I would be a local team. I'd go to a school. I'd invite them to a practice.
Yeah.
I'd tell them to look at the NFL. We're nothing like that, but
But that's what you aspire.
But
You want some kind
also,
of goal
why would
set.
we aspire to that? That's another thing that I got to do a whole other podcast about that as well. Is that there's a difference in aspiring to what's realistic and aspiring to what you
Our
want.
goals attainable.
Like the ELF, what they're doing is awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
But what they're doing isn't on brand with what most federation leagues are doing. And that's not a knock on either. The ELF is producing a product and they're selling the product to make money. They're doing a great job of it. A federation, a sports federation, is supposed to create wellness and opportunity for sport. So if your federation isn't promoting your sport to people who don't play it, that's where the problem lies. And I think that the way that we get over that is to get over our egos and say, we'll take anybody, but they're coming into something that they can trust. If a football player goes to join a team and that team, he goes to a practice and they only have 6 people at practice, okay, he's not coming back. He's like, this isn't professional. Or if he stays, he's like, well, I'm only staying because, nobody takes this serious. So, I can just hang out. And then you're diluting something that could be great because you decided that, instead of, joining this other team where we could have 40 players, we're going to do our own team. And we're only going to have 6 players come to practice and then 40 show up at the game because that's our culture. And that's the thing, is that what you both want is you want to play football. That's your goal. I get that. But how you go about it could impact your future. Why not have the same goals of how can we make this better for everyone instead of how can I make this better for me right now? I'm trying not to be negative.
Dog environment, man.
It's
it's that college football coach environment that just never ceases to end here. And that's just what it's rooted in, dude. I completely agree with you. And it's just kind of 2 dogs at a kennel that, if they would just step outside and kind of look at each other and say, hey, if we work together and we both need food, water, and air to survive, right?
Yep.
So why don't we go get food, water, and air together and try and figure this thing out? But it's just the whole levels of personal relationship, baby, what we talked about.
Yeah.
Is football not life? And life is football, baby. Like the way you play is the way you live. And I truly, truly see that through players that I grew up playing with and how they live today. And it's just truly what it is. I don't know, man, but I've enjoyed this today. Vince, man, I can't tell you how much I've been wanting to really just dive into really just a situation in Europe, and we got to dive into the motivational part. Man, that really was awesome, because I hope some player in Europe is listening to this, learning from this, and trying to aspire to make, if they can't go to another level like America or something like that, try and make where they're at
Yeah,
a better kind of thing,
definitely. And I mean, we're wrapping this up now. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, I feel
man.
like I think we talked about motivation, but I think we talked about football more than anything. And that's
Yeah, I feel like we definitely touched on a lot of motivation and
yeah.
aspects of it
And
within
that's one
for
of the reasons of me
European
having my
players.
own podcast. We can
Yeah,
talk about
baby.
whatever the hell I want to, really.
Yeah, that's so cool, dude.
And this is an explicit podcast, so I can drop F bombs. I love that.
Yeah, let's go, Joe Rogan, baby.
But before we get out of here,
Yeah.
you want to throw any last words on either this topic or tell us about anything you have going? Throw out, personal training, brand,
Yeah.
website, products, whatever. Shoot your shot. This that opportunity. I give
I
this that.
got you.
Take your shot, man.
Dude, Vince, man, I appreciate it, dude. So, we got the Kings of Europe Championship coming up March 18th, Nice or Nice,
Yeah,
France. I
Nice,
don't
France.
know. Yeah, I don't know if I said exactly right. I don't know. So I just started my own team, Bavarian Bulls. I just kind of started that. I'm trying to see if I can create that team and get enough players to go. But with the
Only need seven.
travel, everything like that, you already know the kind of troubles getting a team out there and everything. So maybe we can correlate on that a little bit. Maybe you can help me out. I know you got a team all the way to Amsterdam last year.
Oh, and we're going to Nice too. Oh, I didn't tell you. My bad. Revolution, we're going to Nice too. We're going to win that.
No, we're good to go.
We got unfinished business.
Let's
Check your
go,
Instagram in a
baby.
couple of
Let's
weeks. I
go.
promise you, it's going to be.
Hey.
We're good.
Let's
we
go,
coming.
baby.
We
All
coming
right.
for it all.
All right. I know AVO's coming again, baby.
Man,
So
they got lucky. They
Josh
beat
is
us in
coming,
overtime last year. Y'all heard it here on the podcast.
Yeah.
AVO beat us in double overtime and then went on to win a championship. That's
Dude,
cool. That's cool. Run it back. I told Josh the day after the tournament, run it back. We
Let's
coming.
go.
We don't care where it was.
I'm hoping that I can bring some ballers in. If I can't bring a whole team, I'm probably just going to bring some individual players. So they might just get filled into a couple of teams throughout the tournament.
I think I got like 3 spots left on my squad because I think we're taking 12.
Yeah.
We originally were only going to take like 8 or 9, but I added a couple guys, so we had some depth. But you got some ballers.
That's all we've got, man. There's definitely some developmental players that I'm trying to teach right now, but that's like my U16 kind of develop. But there's some players around here, man. It's just, can they get there? And does it affect their season? A lot of players have their camps during that time and stuff like that. So it's whatever. It's kind of iffy. But other than that, the Bavarian Bulls, man, I do strength conditioning off season and in season, which I think is a huge thing for European players. I also send out meal plans, 8-week in season and 8-week out of season workout plans that I send personalized to players wherever they are within Europe. All right. So if they want to reach out to me, I'm at DubAirs1044 on Instagram. So if you want to reach out to me on there, or Brandon Head on Facebook. I haven't set up my Bavarian Bulls account yet, but I'm trying to slowly but surely process that in. Got a couple opportunities here in Europe for coaching this summer. Possibly one in Sweden, a couple here in Germany, and possibly, and then
in Sweden or Switzerland?
In Sweden.
Sweden, okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. Near Stockholm.
I know what Tyresö is. I know what Tyresö is.
Tyresö.
Tyresö is the only city near Stockholm that's not Stockholm.
Yeah.
So if it's near Stockholm, it's Tyresö or Uppsala.
Yeah, it's Tyresö. I guess that's the one right next to it. But yeah, I guess that's one of the places. And then probably a couple places here in Germany. maybe Cologne, maybe Nuremberg, maybe Ingolstadt, something like that. But yeah, man, I'm really just trying to promote strength conditioning throughout players because I feel like it's a untouched thing around
Yeah.
here. People are really focused on skill training and speed training and stuff like that, but my strength conditioning really orients into building your speed.
Yeah. You got to have
If
strong legs to run
foundation
fast.
of your strength is not strong, how can you have a good foundation strength that carries through a season? That's the biggest thing is durability, consistency throughout the season. And really, that's it, dude. I'm just excited to be on here, be on your podcast, dude.
Yeah. I'm
I hope
glad to
to
have
do
you,
it
man.
again. And I know you're not, too often in Germany, but hopefully I can come out there. I would love to come to Finland. Is there
Uh,
anything out there for me to come see, or am I
we
just
got to talk about that off the
okay? We
podcast.
got to do that offline. I
We'll
got
do
you,
that on
man.
this part because I'd be giving out secrets and people don't know out here.
Too
But
easy.
but Brandon, man, I want to thank you for coming on. It's always good to have you're a new body for me. Like we've crossed paths a little bit, and just
Yeah,
having you on the podcast, just
yeah,
another great way that we can communicate and get to know each other
for
better.
sure.
Again, glad you could make it on the podcast. This topic, it was good. Like it was
I loved it, dude.
football
I
talk, and I'm
loved it.
glad you were able to contribute
I
and help me get through it. I would not have been able to get through
It
this
was
all
truly
myself.
a heartfelt topic to me
Mm-hmm.
because it's something that I kind of preach and I've been going around to teams. And like when I first got here to Germany, I was like so bought in and just gung ho, man. Like, at practice, getting these players at that strength conditioning,
Yeah,
rated, whatever kind of level for practice. And it's like, you got to really focus in on where your motivation is, man. But this was awesome today, dude.
yeah. Well, again,
I'll
thanks to
see you in a
Brandon.
couple of weeks, bro.
Again, thanks to Brandon for coming on the podcast. If anyone listening to this episode or any of my podcast episodes, thanks for rocking with me during the off season.
This is the off season.